What you are about to see is a remote viewing session that was done totally blind by the remote viewer. The remote viewer knew nothing about the target or the nature of the project. The remote viewer is going to describe all of the perceptions that the remote viewer obtained for this target. And then after the remote viewer describes the entire session, I will then tell the remote viewer what the target actually is in the target reveal for this. So I'm going to tell you, however, what the target is so that you can follow along when the remote viewer is describing the target. Okay, but remember, the remote viewer does not know what you know when describing the target. Okay, so the target for this deep news session is, it has two focuses. First focus is the Democratic National Convention in Chicago on the 19th to the 22nd of August in 2024. So that's the target time, to the 19th to the 22nd of August 2024. And the location is, location A is outside the United Center. That's a building during the Democratic National Convention in Chicago from the 19th to the 22nd of August. And time point Z is the most disruptive moment at location A. So the most disruptive moment outside of the United Center during the Democratic National Convention. And we'll have text up when you're watching the remote viewer describe the session so that you can be remembered what these things are. Now, focus 2 is the same thing for the Republicans. Focus 2 is the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee on the 15th to the 18th of July in 2024. And the focus is the most visible disruptive event to occur outside of the FISERV, F-I-S-E-R-V. FISERV, I don't know if that's the correct pronunciation, but the FISERV Forum during the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee from the 15th to the 18th of 2024. Now, time point W is the most disruptive moment at location J. And location J is outside of the FISERV Center during the convention in Milwaukee. And then what we're really looking for is what kind of activity is going on, mostly outside of the convention hall in both Chicago and Milwaukee during the Democratic and Republican conventions this summer. All right, so now let's see what the remote viewer actually perceived, and then we will tell the remote viewer what the actual target is after that. And you can see there the remote viewer's response and so on. Okay, let's see what the remote viewer perceives.
Hi everyone, welcome to Deep News. Here we have Shantae, and just to be clear, Shantae, you do not know the nature of the target?
That's right.
Great. Okay, so why don't you just start us off with your perceptions here? I see you got a good sketch going on, so tell us what's going on there.
Okay, so starting at focus 1 at location A, I had a base surface with a structure labeled a surface structure. It had like a modern appearance. I labeled structure B. I have subjects both inside and outside of this structure, and I have multiple non-surface structures above.
Interesting. Could you describe a little bit about how structure B looks?
Oh, sure. So structure B, it's like a squarish base and a dome top, and I had what looked like a kind of balcony or like outside area attached.
Interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, overall looks like there's an urban environment here or surrounding man-made land area. So multiple structures around here, around structure B.
Very cool. Okay, so why don't you just tell us what you found with location A and the target activity there.
So the target activity at location A, I was seeing multiple subjects, like a crowd of subjects. There's a focused gathering here. My deduction was that there was like some type of entertainment or excitement here. The emotions of the subjects felt like they were enjoying themselves. There's multi-directional movement of the subjects as well as loud sounds inside structure B. And I had older and middle-aged male subjects with formal attire. And my deduction, it kind of felt like a convention, or like subjects were presenting, maybe holding objects or like presenting objects to other subjects.
Very interesting. So what happened when you moved outside of structure B and then you started looking for target activity?
So outside of structure B, I was seeing this circular pattern on the base surface. There's a variety of subjects present here and multiple different activities going on all at once. Some of the emotions I'm picking up felt like disappointment, or some of these subjects are feeling like lesser than or not good enough compared to like another group of subjects here. And the other group seemed a little more optimistic, or more some positive feelings.
Interesting. So now we're still in location A, but we move to time point Z. What did you find at time point Z? Z is in zebra.
So at time point Z as in zebra at location A, I see subjects outside making some repetitive movements. I was not sensing positive emotions here. There's feelings of aggression and like defensive, having to be defensive. I have more subjects concentrated at the entrance or exit points to the structure here. Yeah, it kind of looked like an angular structure.
Interesting. Okay, so you did a collective deep mind probe at time point Z as well. So what did you get when you started diving into their collective consciousness?
So collectively, there's a similar mindset or desire or purpose among the subjects here, and they're progressively becoming angrier, just physically being in this area. I'm starting to sense some violence and like pushing. I'm not seeing violence with actual weapons, just like physical pushing of each other.
Interesting. So pushing, shoving, and stuff like that. Yeah. Okay, so what about activity H? You moved to activity H. What happened there? H is in hospital, I guess.
So activity H as in hospital, there's a new group of subjects, and they also start pushing. There's angry subjects. Oh, wait, sorry. I misworded my sentence. Okay, so a new group of subjects comes and start pushing these angry subjects away from the environment. So the angry subjects are in a variety of attires, like they're not an established group compared to this new group, and they're like in uniforms. So I'm seeing the new group of subjects, they have these dark uniforms and I can't really see their faces, and they're in multiple spots, and they're just pushing this initial angry group of subjects away from structure B here.
Interesting. So a new group of dark uniformed subjects start pushing these angry subjects away, basically.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so then you started moving on to focus 2. And what did you start getting when you started looking around focus 2?
So at focus 2, I have another structure. This is structure C on the base surface, and it has like a curved shape to it. There's a group of subjects inside the structure, and there's a surrounding environment, urban environment, around structure C, as well as some open man-made land nearby. I'm also seeing subjects moving inside, like they're subjects outside moving into structure C. And we call this entire area location J. Yes.
Okay, so now you move to time point W at location J. So what happened at the same place but time point W?
Time point W. So this is moving inside of this structure. It feels like there would be nice things inside of structure C, but there are lots of subjects inside, and it's currently like messy or out of order. And I also have a crowd of subjects outside. There's loud sounds, and I have flashes of lights from these outside subjects.
Interesting. So then you sort of continued with a collective deep mind probe of that same place, location J, time point W, and you started looking at the outside subjects specifically for that collective deep mind probe. What happened there? What did you pick up?
Right, so I have this energy of targeting specific subjects and just like exposing them. I was sensing some aggression mixed in also with happiness for what they're doing, like even if it's aggressive activity or like pride. And the dominant group is prideful or the aggressive subjects, and the other group is not bringing attention to themselves here, or trying not to.
Interesting. So the first thing you said, there's an energy. So they have an energy. Some of these outside subjects have an energy of targeting specific subjects and trying to expose them.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So you moved on to activity R. What happened with activity R at this moment?
So activity R felt like violence, and this is violence that's involving weapons rather than just the physical pushing and physical touch I was seeing earlier. So there's injured subjects here, and there's a group of subjects that move into the area that are causing violence. So there's subjects inside structure C. They also have weapons, and they're coming outside of the structure into this violent area. So there's violent movement in both directions.
Wow. So continue on. What else did you get?
Yes, so continuing, looking at the outside subjects, their attire, they have on like a lot of gear or protective clothing. I see hard headgear and like padding on their bodies. And there's violence and like shooting actions and activity. Doing a collective deep mind probe of these subjects, these outside subjects. Their goal is to move away the other subjects, but they will also harm them. Like, getting rid of them is good, but they'll still harm them. And subjects are making a perimeter and not getting too close to the other subjects. So they're not like super dense on top of each other, but they're kind of making a surrounding area for this violent activity.
Wow, that's amazing. I gotta say, out of the verifiable elements, of course, once you know the target, you'll realize that we can't verify everything, but of the verifiable data, you did an amazing job. So, you ready to hear the target?
I suppose so.
Okay, so you're gonna be you'll be very happy with yourself with this one. This is a very good session. So, basically, Focus 1 was the Democratic National Convention in Chicago, and specifically we were focusing on where it's going to be held, which is the United Center during the time of the 19th to the 22nd of August 2024. Now, let me, I hope we can have a picture of the United Center up on this video, but everyone should definitely, at the very least, look it up if there's no picture there. And could you go back and describe your structure B? It's at the beginning of the session, I think on the 5th page.
Yeah, I'm on it. Okay, so it's like a square base or regular building base with a dome top and kind of balcony-like structure.
And that is exactly what the United Center looks like in Chicago. It has this...
I'm gonna look it up as well.
Yeah, definitely, it's worth looking up. So you type in United Center, Chicago building, so you don't just get the inside. I mean, it is sort of like a auditorium type of place, stadium place on the inside. So.
I see.
Are you looking at a picture of it?
I got the little street view. Okay, that's actually not best.
Okay.
Wait, I'll do just Google Images. Okay. Oh, I see. Oh, wow.
Yeah, Google Images would be the best for it. It's pretty great.
I see.
You did a great job on it. So the other thing, let me actually hand you over this so you can follow along. So here you go. And so now for focus 2, we had to look at the Republican side of the same thing. So it didn't happen at the exact same time period. So we have these different time periods. The Republican National Convention is in Milwaukee, and that is from the 15th to the 18th of July, 2024. And actually, before we go to the Republican side of things, let me point out another thing that you got completely correct. This is the Democratic National Convention, and you said it was a convention. You said it felt like a convention. You described the structure of the building perfectly, and then you said it felt like a convention. There's people up there, they're speaking, they're showing off things, there's an audience. That's great. That was completely blind. I mean, you did that was perfect. I was I'm smiling ear from ear, just like seeing the quality of the remote viewing. It's great. Everyone should do remote viewing. This is the type of stuff you get. This is a good job. All right, so let's move on to the Republican National Convention. So once again, now you said this structure was very curved. Now, if you could look at the FISERV Forum, which is the place that's being held. So FISERV Forum, FORUM, those two words. FISERV, FISERV space Forum, FORUM. There is this big curve. It's a sort of a blocky building, but it has this big curve.
Oh, that's crazy.
Very cool. A very big curve that's like almost a full circle, but it's like a huge elongated letter C that's like across the whole rectangular side of the structure. And you got it. I mean, you picked up this like a curved looking structure, and it's amazing. I mean, like, that in terms of low level data that we can verify, that's there. That's the data that we can verify. Now, of course, what we can't verify is the stuff that hasn't happened yet because it happened in the future. So basically, we have time point Z going back to focus 1. We have time point Z. It is the most disruptive moment at location A being outside the United Center where the Democratic National Convention is taking place in Chicago. So outside the convention, what's the most disruptive moment? That's time point Z. Activity H is specifically the most disruptive activity that took place there. So we're really highlighting what's the most disruptive thing. These events might not take over the entire stage of what's happening here. However, we wanted to find out what's the most disruptive thing that goes on. So that was what you got. And basically, we did the same thing for the Republican side. We wanted to see location J, which is outside the FISERV Forum. We wanted to see time point W, which is the most disruptive moment at location J, and activity R, the most disruptive activity that took place outside the FISERV Forum during the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee between the 15th and the 18th of July 2024. Now, a very interesting thing that you picked up, which, doing this completely blind, you picked up something that is a very common sight that we've seen during any sort of political protesty sort of event, is occasionally law enforcement gets involved and they dress up in these dark attired, a lot of the times, not every time, but sometimes, these dark attired uniforms, and you drew some people with what seemed like hard hats on, and you said they were making a perimeter. I mean, very law enforcement-y type of tactics you were drawing them out doing. So that's very in the cards. That's very much in the cards of something that's quite honestly not very surprising. I mean, it's pretty expected stuff given the political climate of the United States at the time, and the stuff that we would expect at a very political event like the Republican and Democratic National Conventions. So great job, really stellar, really great. So very happy with the verifiables. Anyway, what do you think? I speak too much. What do you say?
I mean, I'm definitely happy with the data I got from the session. As far as the activity here, I don't know, it's kind of, I want to say not surprising, I guess. I guess we'll see what happens. It's not too long of a wait. So
yeah, that's right.
Things are coming up. I'm really happy with the structures, though.
Yeah.
Structures could have any shape, and they seem pretty accurate, I think.
It was. It really was. And definitely that's a shining moment. I mean, all the session data is great, but getting those structures as correctly as you did and labeling this type of event to be like a convention at the beginning of your session, that type of stuff makes me very confident in trusting the rest of the data that came forward. So it's that was all around a really good remote viewing session. So great. Well, any last concluding thoughts, comments, questions?
I don't think so.
All right. Sounds great. Well, thank you much, Shantae, and thank you very much, Shantae, and thank you very much, everyone else, for watching.
Thanks.